Welcome to Conversations at the Crossroads. I'm your host, Jenny. This is a space where we explore spirituality, personal growth, healing, and the very human experience of becoming. Here, we talk about the hard things, the transformative things, and sometimes the ideas that simply give us something new to think about or tools to carry on our journey. At the crossroads moments of life, when we're asked to pause, reflect, or choose a new direction, there's always an opportunity for growth. My hope is that these conversations help you feel a little more grounded, a little more seen, and a little more empowered to walk on your own path with intention. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Welcome back to the podcast. After our deep dive into post-traumatic growth and healing, I wanted today's episode to feel like a soft place to land, especially with Valentine's Day right around the corner. This one is all about self-care that is real, gentle, and actually doable, even on the days when you feel completely stuck. And I have to start with the words of the one and only RuPaul. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen? Today, we're going to talk about what loving yourself can look like in tiny, practical ways. In your brain, in your body, in your energy, and in your journal. I want to start by grounding this in science because that's just how my brain works. I want to know the why of things, and maybe you do too. And self-care is not just like a cute aesthetic. It literally reshapes your brain and helps your body. Researchers at Harvard and Massachusetts General Hospital followed people who took an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program. They practiced about 27 minutes of mindfulness a day. Nothing wild, just a daily habit. Brain scans taken before and after those 8 weeks showed increased gray matter density in the hippocampus. And that's the region in your brain involved in learning, memory, and emotional regulation. At the same time, participants who reported feeling less stressed showed decreased gray matter density in the amygdala, which is a region strongly tied to fear, anxiety, and stress response. Even 5 minutes of mindfulness meditation can reduce cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone. Dr. Amishi Jha, a neuroscientist, has shown that even short periods of meditation can improve attention and working memory. Key areas that get foggy on tough days. So when you sit down to breathe for a few minutes or you do a short guided meditation, you're not being lazy or indulgent. You are literally helping your brain build more of the tissue that supports calm, memory, and self-awareness, and dialing down the parts that keep you stuck in fight or flight. Another study from UCLA looked at people who had meditated for years and compared their brains with non-meditators of the same age. Both groups showed normal age-related gray matter loss, but the meditators had significantly more gray matter preserved across many areas of the brain. In simple terms, meditation was associated with less age-related shrinkage in key regions, almost like giving your brain a protective buffer over time. You're not just doing nothing when you meditate. You're investing in a healthier, more resilient brain, especially important if you're like me and live with ADHD or trauma or chronic stress. While we're talking about meditation, I also want to touch on using sound as a tool for calming, healing, and even manifestation. Since a lot of times when we're meditating, we're listening to some sort of music or, there's music in the background of guided meditations. Our brains respond very strongly to rhythm and tone. And there is growing evidence that certain kinds of sound can help regulate our nervous system. One way this shows up is through things like binaural or auditory beats. When you play slightly different tones in each ear or layered within music, your brain perceives a third beat and tends to sync some of its electrical activity toward that rhythm. Studies have found that music embedded with these beats can significantly reduce self-reported anxiety and improve mood more than music or beats alone, especially when the beats are in slower ranges that support relaxation. Think of it like giving your brain a gentle metronome to follow into a calmer state. I personally also really love the 8D sound music tracks. You can find them online, but especially for neurospicy brains, they can be really cool to listen to and just kind of disconnect in a healthy way. You're not really dissociating, but you're just going inwards, and listening to that can be a really great way to give your brain a break. Beyond beats, there's also work looking at specific musical tunings and frequencies. One small study comparing music tuned to 528 hertz versus the standard 440 hertz found that just 5 minutes of 528 hertz music was linked to lower tension anxiety scores and signs of reduced stress in the autonomic and endocrine systems. Other research on relaxing music more broadly shows it can lower cortisol, our primary stress hormone, and increase feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine, which is part of why music can feel so soothing, uplifting, and empowering when you're manifesting or setting intentions. So when you put on a track with calming frequencies, binaural beats, or gentle instrumental music during meditation, breathwork, or journaling, you're using sound to help your brain shift into a more relaxed, receptive state where healing, insight, and intention setting come more naturally. You get to play with this. Notice which sound helps you feel more grounded, which ones open your heart, and which ones make it easier to visualize the life you're calling in. Now, I want to talk about something a little more mystical, but still grounded in measurable phenomena: the light we emit. Our bodies naturally give off ultra weak light, sometimes called biophoton emission. Under normal circumstances, it's extremely faint, far below what our eyes can see. Research from University of Kassel in Witzenhausen, Germany, showed that while the average person emits about 20 photons of light per second, someone who meditates, particularly using heart-centered meditation techniques, can emit up to 100,000 photons per second. The increase in light emission was associated with a focus on transmitting light to a specific person in need. And as somebody who practices Reiki, I'm Reiki 2 attuned and certified. That is really amazing because it just validates that idea of being in a meditative state and passing light and healing to other people. And while these numbers can vary depending on the source and need more rigorous replication, the idea alone is powerful. When we meditate with loving, intentional focus, the subtle light our bodies emit appears to become stronger and more coherent. So when you sit, close your eyes, and breathe into your heart, imagining love, compassion, or healing, you're not only calming your nervous system and reshaping your brain, you may also be amplifying the literal light you're sending into the world. I love this image for you. On the days you feel dim and worn out, a few minutes of intentional heart centered meditation is like turning up your inner dimmer switch, one notch at a time. And, you know, in Reiki, we say that like if you are sending light out, if you're sending out Reiki, which is healing, divine healing light, essentially, you're also receiving. So when you're putting that light into the world or into anything for healing, you're also healing yourself at the same time, which I think is a beautiful concept. If you're looking for ways to meditate or it's not something you're super familiar with, there's two really wonderful apps that I can recommend. There's an app called Insight Timer that has a free version. It has so many different meditations and courses, things just to learn about. I really, really like it. It also will have just a timer you can set if you want to just put a timer on for deep breathing. And then there's the Expand app by the Monroe Institute, which I'll do an episode on them alone and going into the Monroe Institute because they're so fascinating. But they have some really cool science behind the way they create their meditations. So I would really recommend checking out the Expand app and the meditations that are available through that one as well. Now, let's talk about those days when you feel absolutely frozen. The ADHD is ADHDing and the executive dysfunction is executively dysfunctioning. And even getting off the couch feels like a whole saga. On those days, I want your self care to shrink down to tiny, compassionate actions. The 5 minute promise is tell yourself, I only have to do this for 5 minutes. Maybe that's 5 minutes of guided meditation, 5 minutes of stretching, or just 5 minutes of sitting by a window and letting your eyes rest on something outside. And then there's sensory grounding. You can pick one sense, hold something soft, run warm water over your hands, light a favorite candle, or listen to one calming song. One song can be a full act of self care. Instead of, I have to get ready, break it down. I'm just going to brush my teeth. If that's all you can do, that still counts. Tomorrow, maybe it's brushing your teeth and washing your face. You can also have what's called body doubling. Do this. Sometimes I put my best friend on FaceTime and just have her hang out with me while I'm doing stuff around the house. And if it helps, you can put on a study with me video, call a friend, or even use this podcast as your companion while you're doing one tiny task. Feeling like someone's there with you can make starting less overwhelming. If all you did today was drink water or send one text or open a window, that's still self-care. That is enough for today. I also want to talk about journaling because it's another practice that people love to dismiss as woo or, yeah, my therapist said I should journal, but I don't know if it'll really work. But there is strong evidence behind it. Psychologist James Pennebaker and others have studied expressive writing, where people write about stressful or traumatic experiences for 15 to 20 minutes over a few days. These studies found that people who did this showed improved immune function, fewer stress-related doctor visits, lower blood pressure, and better overall psychological well-being. Putting your feelings into words helps your brain organize and make sense of them, which reduces the intensity of stress and anxiety over time. There are so many ways to keep a journal, and I want to name a few so you can find what feels gentle and accessible. There's gratitude journaling, which is writing a few things you're grateful for, which trains your attention toward what is working, even on hard days. There's stream of consciousness journaling, or some people call it automatic writing. And that's dumping whatever is in your mind straight onto the page without worry about grammar or structure or even what your handwriting looks like. Mine looks like an angry toddler, and it's just letting it out. You can do bullet journaling or lists, and this for ADHD brains. Simple lists, checkboxes, and short phrases can feel less overwhelming than having to write long paragraphs. It doesn't really have to make sense to anybody but you. It just do what feels right. Art or collage journaling, using doodles, colors, images when you have words that feel too heavy. Um, this kind of also falls in line with like vision boarding. Like you could do a small version of that in your journal and just doodle the things that you want for yourself or doodle the things that you're feeling, even just to get it out, things that you want to release, and then crumple that paper up. And then there's digital journaling, which I actually just started recently. And I use the app called Day One. You can use pictures, it can put like location timestamps. It's really customizable. I actually just took a 10-day course through that app Insight Timer that I talked about earlier. Beth Hagen has a 10-day course called Journal Keeper's Practice. And I wanted to kind of highlight that here. It's super helpful. It walks through the 4 pillars of journal keeping. It offers education, it offers prompts, and a gentle structure to help you build your practice if you struggle to stay consistent. It can be a really supportive way to make journaling feel guided rather than overwhelming. I know I said that I would get back into journaling for years and I just never got around to it. I could be the president of the Procrastinators Club, but I never got around to joining. So when I started that Beth Hagen's course, it really changed a lot for me. It kept me consistent, and now I have been continuously writing for a couple of months. And it's hard sometimes to create new habits. And then since this episode is coming out around Valentine's Day, I wanted to talk about one of the classics, and that's chocolate. Yes, we're going to make it both romantic and sciencey. High quality dark chocolate, especially with a higher cocoa content or cacao content, is rich in flavanols, plant compounds that support your heart and blood vessels. These flavanols help your blood vessels relax by boosting nitric oxide, which can improve blood flow and may modestly support healthier blood pressure and cardiovascular function when enjoyed in moderation. Some studies show that cacao flavanols can increase blood flow to the brain and support aspects of cognition, like attention and certain types of memory, especially in older adults. Chocolate also has a mood boosting side. It contains compounds that are linked with the release of endorphins and serotonin, chemicals that help reduce pain, lower stress, and lift your mood. Dark chocolate, in particular, can also provide a small hit of stimulants like theobromine and a bit of caffeine, which can make you feel more alert. Plus, it's associated with pleasure-linked neurotransmitters like dopamine and phenethylamine, sometimes called the love or infatuation chemical. That's part of why a square of dark chocolate can feel like a tiny, delicious act of self-love, soothing your nervous system, supporting your heart, and giving your brain a little happiness signal all at once. So if you're spending Valentine's Day solo, in healing, or just not in the mood for the Hallmark version of love, you absolutely have my permission to turn eating a piece of really good dark chocolate into a ritual. Breathe. Notice the smell. Let it melt slowly. And remind yourself that you deserve sweetness in your body, in your brain, in your life. So when we put this all together, meditation is changing our gray matter, strengthening areas of learning, memory, and emotional regulation, and softening the brain's stress center. Over years, it may help your brain age more gracefully, preserving more gray matter than if you never practiced it at all. Your body likely emits ultra weak light all the time, and heart centered intentional meditation may amplify that subtle glow, the energy you radiate into your world. Journaling helps your body process stress, supports your immune system, and gives your mind a structured place to put the chaos. Sound based practices like calming music, binaural beats, or specific soothing frequencies can help your brain shift into more relaxed, regulated states where healing and manifestation feel easier. Pairing meditation or journaling with supportive sound like a gentle instrumental track or frequency based playlists can deepen focus, soften anxiety, and make it easier to stay present with yourself. High quality dark chocolate in moderation can support heart and brain health and help blood flow that may gently boost mood and cognition. Turning a small square of dark chocolate into a slow, intentional ritual, smelling it, savoring it, letting it melt, can become a Valentine style act of self love you can give yourself any day of the year. Now, I want to leave you with some journaling prompts or even some questions to reflect on that you can use after this episode. You can pause me after each one if you want to write in real time or just have a moment to think. What is one tiny act of kindness I offered myself today? Or could I still offer myself before I go to bed? When I imagine my inner light, what does it look like right now? Color, shape, brightness, and what helps it to shine a little brighter? If I treated my future self like someone I deeply love, what is one small, repeatable act of self care I would start doing for them this week? Think about a day when you felt just a little bit better than usual. What tiny things did you do or not do that supported you? And how could you turn one of those into a gentle habit? You do not have to fix everything today. You do not have to become a meditation master or fill a perfect journal. I just want you to take one tiny step forward caring for yourself, whether that's 3 deep breaths, one sentence on a page, or 5 minutes of sitting with your hand on your heart. You are worthy of your own care. You are allowed to be a work in progress and still be so deeply lovable. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope this conversation gave you permission to take at least one tiny, loving step towards yourself, whether that's a deep breath, a song that soothes you, a good piece of chocolate, or one honest sentence in your journal. Remember, you don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You just have to keep choosing yourself in small, consistent ways. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to stay connected. You can come hang out with me on Instagram at Hex and Hair and find more of my work, offerings, and goodies over at hexandhair.com. And join me on TikTok under the same name, Hex and Hair, where I share more bite-sized thoughts, rituals, reminders to take care of your magic. Take gentle care of yourself this week. I'm so proud of you for being here. I can't wait to talk to you in the next episode. Bye.